Thank you for joining me on 13 Plus. I'm Cali Lichter, and this is On the Docket, a weekly recap of crime and court in and around the state of Michigan. This week, two parents are speaking out after their 14-year-old son's suicide revealed a county-wide sextortion plot that targeted at least 17 children, and a dramatic video of a destructive police chase between 5 teenagers and multiple sheriff's cars. All of that and more is On the Docket. A Rockford couple say their son Henry was kind-hearted and charismatic. At 14 years old, he was days away from the start of freshman year at Rockford High School when the couple say he took his own life. They say his death led to the discovery of a sextortion scheme ran by another teenager in a nearby community. Our Micah Cho has more on what the family told us and how common this crime has become.
Henry was really a wonderful young man. Ninth grader, 14 years old, high school basketball team, did well in school.
8 months after he died by suicide, the family of a 14-year-old Rockford teenager named Henry is getting justice. In August, Henry became victim of a scam called sextortion. He had sent pictures to another Kent County teenager who he thought was a girl. That male teenager then used those pictures to blackmail Henry. Investigators say he did this to 17 other teenagers in Michigan and other states. Later, Henry took his life using a gun. Speaking through their attorney, Mark Lipton, the family has asked us not to use their last name.
He panicked, and thought his life was over and ruined.
Henry's suicide led to 6 felony charges for the Kent County teenager behind the scam. He recently pled guilty in juvenile court and is waiting sentencing. According to Jason Kelly, chief deputy at the Kent County Sheriff's Office, this is something they see often.
I would say we take 3 to 5 of these on average per month.
And Henry fits into the demographic of sextortion victims, according to the chief deputy.
The majority of victims of sextortion are males between 12 and 17 years old. That age bracket is targeted more along the lines because of the fact that it's easier to get pictures from them than it is from an older adult.
In a statement to 13 on Your Side, the family said in part, quote, "The most important takeaway we want other kids in our community to know is that sending inappropriate pics is a bad decision. But if someone threatens to spread your photos, they are committing a crime and you deserve to be protected." And that's Chief Deputy Kelly's advice as well.
If you come forward and you're a victim of something like this, we're not looking to investigate you as the person sending. We're here to help you.
The FBI shares tips on how people can protect themselves or their loved ones from sextortion schemes. Be selective about what you share online. If your social media accounts are open to everyone, a predator may be able to figure out a lot of information about you. Be wary of anyone you encounter for the first time online. Block or ignore messages from strangers. Be aware that people can pretend to be anything or anyone online. Videos and photos are not proof that people are who they claim to be. Images can be altered or stolen. In some cases, predators have even taken over the social media accounts of their victims. You can find more tips from the FBI and read more about Henry's story on our website 13onyourside.com by searching Rockford parent share story after son 14 dies by suicide over sextortion. And this week, the Livingston County Sheriff's Department released footage of a dramatic chase involving police, sheriff, a lot of law enforcement, and a stolen SUV from Calhoun County. Dashcam video shows officers pursuing the SUV as it smashes into other cars and the occupants attempting to get away. We're going to play the whole video for you now as I walk you through what transpired before the car crashed in Lansing. So as you can see, the car, which is in front, is the black SUV BMW in front of the sheriff's vehicle right now, is swerving in between these lanes. This is not where we get to any of the crashes. For now, it's just a high-speed chase as the sheriffs attempt to pull him over. And now that car is swerving into a construction lane. And you can hear in the background a lot of deputies, first responders, a lot of people talking dispatch about how to pull this car over. Continuing down the road now, And the car is about to get off on this exit, and it is again going to swerve around a car that's getting off. And the Livingston County Sheriff's Department says this was a high-speed chase. The car was going really fast. As you can see, we are now in a residential area. There's a Target that's right there, a few gas stations, no longer on the highway. These are people probably going 25, 30, 40 miles per hour. The car is going really fast. Now in this video, the car got into the dead end, and like you saw right there, it hits a sheriff's vehicle before continuing down the road and trying to get back onto the highway. This is I-96 that we're talking about right now. You see some swerves as the sheriff, or now we're in the City of Brighton Police Department, tries to follow this car back onto I-96. They're about to turn in a second. And you can hear those tires screech as someone on dispatch says they're going westbound. And now here we get to the meat of the video. There we go. That car, the stolen VW, is hitting a lot of cars on this road. The Livingston County Sheriff's Department says several cars were hit in this instance. And we talked to there is a gun that just got thrown out of the car. That's being circled right now. And 2 guns were thrown from the car on the highway as the car was getting chased. Now, we talked to a law enforcement expert who said that the other cars in this situation were doing the right thing by staying where they are, staying in their lane, because you don't necessarily know that this is a police chase, a high-speed police chase that is happening behind you. So if you're ever in this situation, just stay in your lane, pull over if you can. As you can see, some of the cars are pulling over for this high-speed chase, just in enough time to not get hit by the stolen SUV before it gets right back onto I-96 after it just went into the ditch. And they're going to continue on the road for a little bit longer. As you can see, more high speed, more getting on and off I-96, and they're heading westbound towards Lansing at this point, and now we're in a more residential area. I'm just going to let this play out for you. Yep, hits multiple cars. Now we see the teenagers in the car all fleeing. Some do not get to exit the car and choose to surrender to law enforcement. As you can see, again, multiple vehicles were hit. Multiple people ran from the car. We are not sure how many teenagers were in the car. There's conflicting information. We were not able to get in touch with the Livingston Sheriff's Department to clarify some of the details in their initial press release that they put out on Facebook along with the video. You see one person in the car getting down to the ground right now, and another person again trying to flee as they are surrounded by multiple law enforcement vehicles. Now, there were 5 people arrested, and it is unclear at this time if there were more people who fled the car, like I said, and have not been found. The Livingston County Sheriff's Department did not return our request for comment. We did reach out to them, but those 5 individuals were from Lansing. The driver, Cuckoo Dodd, was arraigned on multiple charges, including flee and elude, 3rd degree, and felonious assault with motor vehicle. There was a passenger, Yusuf Abdikadir, was arraigned on carrying a concealed weapon and resisting and obstructing police. There were also 3 juveniles who are facing a charge of resisting and obstructing police, and they were released to their parents. And now switching gears a little bit, still two cars. We are getting our first look at surveillance video showing a crash that hurt 7 people at a Speedway gas station in Kalamazoo. A driver plowed into a gas pump in mid-March, knocking people to the ground. And when you see the video, it's a miracle no one was killed. I took a closer look at the security camera footage and broke it down, and we want to warn you, it might be difficult to watch. The video starts off with multiple people getting gas in the afternoon of March 19th at a Speedway on Westnedge in Kalamazoo. Now take a look at the top right hand of the screen where you can start to see the car enter the frame at a high rate of speed. It starts to veer off the road as it approaches the edge of the gas station, hitting the middle pump where several people were getting gas. The car's airbags immediately go off on impact, but the car does not stop, taking the whole pump with it. The person in the orange shirt filling up his yellow truck is sent flying by the car's impact, and the man on the other side of the pump filling up his motorcycle was thrown to the ground. Moments after the crash shows a frantic scene, with people running around and debris everywhere. 7 people were injured and there were no other passengers in the car. At this time, Kalamazoo's Criminal Investigation Division is still awaiting forensic and toxicology reports to move forward with the investigation. Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety says both people who were hospitalized are out, with one person in physical rehab. And it has been more than 3 years since the killing of Patrick Lyoya at the hands of former Grand Rapids police officer Christopher Schurr. As we approach the trial of Christopher Schurr, Patrick Lyoya's family are speaking out about their fight for justice. We'll hear from them next. The criminal trial of former Grand Rapids police officer Christopher Schurr will begin at the end of April. 2 weeks before the trial, Patrick Lyoya's father says his family will never stop fighting for justice. Our Lauren Baker has more from Patrick's family as they prepare for the trial.
Even in their sorrow,
we are not at peace. We don't have the joy. Our heart is still broken.
the family of Patrick Lyoya says their fight for justice is far from over.
We will not give up, we will not get tired, we'll keep fighting until when we get the true justice and until when this murderer is convicted.
In a matter of days, Christopher Schurr will stand trial for the killing of Patrick Lyoya. In an interview with MLive through an interpreter, Lyoya's father, Peter, spoke about his son's life.
Patrick was a family man, and every Friday when Patrick got paid, he will make sure he call his sibling, ask them what you want, he would buy them stuff, and would come spend time with us.
He says he thought his son had a bright future after the family moved to America to escape wars in the Congo. But he says this tragedy,
we felt like now the safe haven that we're looking for, we don't have it anymore.
Has changed his view on whether that move was worth it.
If I could predict the future and see what happened to Patrick, it could have been better for me to remain in Africa than to come here and bury my son.
Lyoya was killed in April 2022 during a traffic stop. Officials say Lyoya disregarded Schurr's commands, which led to a physical struggle between the two, and eventually, Schurr shot Lyoya in the back of the head while he was pinned down. His father says his son would still be alive if he wasn't black.
Patrick lost his life. He was murdered by this murder because of the color of his skin, because he was black. Because if Patrick was white, a young white boy, I guarantee you 100% this will never happen to Patrick.
As the trial approaches and the possibility that Christopher Schurr will testify, his father says he still can't believe Schurr will be able to defend himself, but his son can't.
What is going to be saying? I can understand if my son was in jail. That way his word could go against my son's word. But now my son is dead.
We haven't heard from Schurr's family. We did request an interview with his family through an attorney, but have not heard back. His attorneys also declined an interview to talk about the case, but did send a statement saying they look forward to his day in court and are confident that he will be exonerated. Schurr is charged with second-degree murder, and we will be streaming the whole trial gavel to gavel right here on 13 Plus starting on April 28th. You can watch our coverage on 13 Plus online. And again, also here on 13 Plus, we will also have a special episode of On the Docket covering everything that has happened in the case since April 2022 for a refresher before the trial. April 17th marks 1 year since Samuel Sterling was hit and killed by a now retired Michigan State Trooper. A vigil was held by Sterling's family and friends. 1, 2, 3. Sergeant Brian Keeley hit Sterling with his cruiser outside a Kentwood Burger King following the chase last year. Keeley is charged with second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter. Sterling's mother says she hopes she won't have to wait years to get closure in her son's death.
We're trying to make everybody open their eyes. This is real. I'm a mother. I shouldn't have to bury my son because the officer that's supposed to serve and protect, he didn't serve and protect.
Sterling was wanted on outstanding warrants, and Keeley was part of a special U.S. Marshals task force. And just days before the one-year anniversary, Keeley's stay in a civil suit brought against him was not granted. It comes as new documents show Keeley's reasoning for hitting Sterling with his car. According to an incident report filed April 15th by Sterling's mother, in a lawsuit, Keeley says wet pavement caused his car to skid. He says he lost control of braking and steering, leading him to crash into Sterling and pit him against the Burger King in Kentwood. But a state police crash investigator who analyzed the incident determined earlier rain had, quote, minimal bearing. After more than a month without a shooting, Grand Rapids police are now investigating two from April 13th. These two shootings both involve teenagers, with one as of April 14th still in critical condition. I spoke with Grand Rapids Police Chief Eric Winstrom, who says more needs to be done by police and the community to keep guns out of the hands of children.
After one of the longest periods without a shooting in Grand Rapids, on Sunday, two teens became victims of gun violence, marking the fifth and sixth shootings the city has seen this year.
To have two come so quickly and both involve teenagers was very alarming to me.
The first shooting happened around 4:30 p.m. on Bache Street Southeast. While no victims were found on the scene, a 15-year-old showed up to the hospital an hour later with a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to the leg. The other around 7 p.m. on Batchewana Street Southeast, where an 18-year-old was found and remains in critical condition.
This was a very scary situation where a 15-year-old was hit by gunfire. Shortly thereafter, an 18-year-old. It's very likely that young people were involved in pulling the trigger.
Last summer, the city saw a decrease in the amount of young people involved in violent crime, but two 15-year-olds, Lakijah Williams and Amelia Penn, lost their lives to gun violence.
So to have a 15-year-old struck by gunfire yesterday was very scary, and I hope it's eye-opening.
Law enforcement holding these kids accountable is one part, Winstrom says. The other side of accountability needs to come from the community.
We need mothers and fathers and mentors in these young people's lives to really get involved in their life and see what are they doing, where are they going on this afternoon, why are they taking a gun with them. For
Winstrom, teenagers in the city shouldn't have their lives cut short because another kid decided to pull the trigger.
We need to turn the page on this culture in the city of Grand Rapids because our kids deserve to be able to grow up.
These shootings pose no threat to the community and are believed to be targeted.
As of the taping of this show, there was not a motive behind the two shootings, but Winstrom did tell me he can guarantee it's over something petty and it shouldn't have resorted to gun violence. We also talked about when the weather warms up, there's a statistical increase of violence. Coming up, an Ottawa County man charged with attempted murder for shooting his girlfriend learned how long he will spend in prison. We'll take you inside the courtroom where emotions were high and feelings were not spared. An Ottawa County man finally learned his sentence on April 18th after his initial sentencing date was adjourned. A few episodes ago, we told you about Vaughn Smith, a man who pleaded guilty to a domestic shooting from last May. Court documents say an argument spurred over the paternity of one of Smith and his girlfriend's children. And Smith started shooting at his girlfriend, but then was stabbed by their teenage son. The original sentencing on March 28th was adjourned because Smith's attorney called into question the sequence of events based on witness testimony. But today in the courtroom, no feelings were spared as the judge took a big stance when sentencing. Take a look.
I'd like to say that Vaughn owes me nothing, no restitution, no anything of that nature. I didn't even deserve his love. I created a fire and I added fuel. I believe that God has already punished him enough. I feel as to regarding to this day that he has served enough time already. Our children have changed drastically and it hurts them every day and it's causing different problems in my household because they cannot speak to their dad. And please show some mercy for a man that was learning to be a better person, a father and a businessman.
The victim knows that she was shot twice, the first time in the leg. The victim said she went down after she was shot the first time. And while on the ground, thus after she was shot in the leg, the defendant said to her, quote, "Bitch, you are not dead yet," close quote. Then the shot to the head. The victim says that the first thing she saw or heard after she was shot in the head was her son talking to her, not the defendant insulting her. The defendant said that mom was shot in the leg, then went down, couldn't hear what was said, then mom was shot in the head. that a neighbor from a distance away had details that were not identical to the victim and of no moment, the neighbor could not simply hear what was said. While the neighbor believes that the shot to the head was first, he claims that at least 3 shots were fired and the victim was on the ground. Here, while the victim was lying on the ground bleeding after being shot by a .45 caliber, the defendant said, what I've said a few moments ago, then a second shot was fired. This was taunting. This was sadistic-like, although it's not the traditional definition of sadism. It is pretty close. The statement was not necessary to the crime itself, but was a gratuitous statement to increase the victim's fear and anxiety for a moment of time before firing the next shot. He wanted to send her out of this world holding the maximum amount of fear and anxiety. There was a risk of severe physical harm to the ongoing assault and high tensions and drama. Fortunately, he was able to incapacitate his father to such a degree as to terminate the assault. On page 60 of the preliminary examination, testified he was afraid of getting shot. This is, but for the grace of God, we're not hearing a first-degree murder case. He's a bad shot and saved his mom.
I would like to say sorry to my family for putting them through this. And they know that I've been dealing with some problems with my father and don't know how to deal with my anger. But I would like to thank the judge. I would like to thank you for my team that actually helped me with expressing myself better now, you know, instead of holding all the hurt in where I was from. You don't tell nobody what's going on with you that make you seem soft, you know. But actually, open it up to Rachel. I love you, Mom. I love you too. I have a father that teach me anything. So everything I know, I try to install it in my kids. Yeah, you know, I made a terrible decision that day. A terrible decision that day, Your Honor. And that came from me being hurt, just hearing my daughter wasn't mine. That hurt me so bad. And other infidelity that we've been sweeping under the rug. We both need counseling, Your Honor. We both need counseling. I've been with that woman since the age of 17. I don't know nobody else. I love her so much, and I'm sorry for what I did to her. I'm sorry. You know that. You know I love you so much. You didn't hurt me when you said that. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I miss her so much. I miss my kids. I've been in my kids' life, their whole life. My father wasn't in mine. My father wasn't in mine, so I make sure that I'm there for them. The time that I'm looking at, I'm going to miss getting driver's license. I'm going to miss graduations. I'm going to miss prom. All 5 of my kids. Oh, the decision that I made the decision. Of one bad thing that I heard, I made a stupid decision, Your Honor. I made that decision. Nobody else. So I'm here today, Your Honor, just to ask for a second chance. And I know I don't even deserve one for making that decision, Your Honor. But I took advantage of them classes that's in this jail. I took advantage of them classes, Your Honor. And like I told you, growing up, that made you soft if you do anything like that. Domestic violence classes, anger management classes, that make it seem like you're retarded or you can't handle certain things that thrown your way, Your Honor, you know. And I believe everybody needs some help sometime. Rachel, I appreciate you for everything you do. Everything you did, you made me open up. And you know that I was scared to do that, and you did it. You made me open up. Even communicating with my mom, because my mom was there, but she wasn't there because she kept letting him walk in and out of my life. And he didn't show me nothing, Your Honor. He didn't show me even how to tie my shoes. I showed my kids how to tie the shoes, how to body train them. I did all that, Your Honor. It hurt them and it hurt me even more. Just because I made a decision, they got me out their life. And now they looking like what my daddy had. And they don't know I'm looking at 14 years. They have kids that won't even know me. I'm sorry, yeah.
I do believe that your expressions of remorse are genuine. It's not unusual for people to state false statements of remorse in an attempt to get a more lenient sentence. I don't believe that's the case. I do believe that if you could rewind the clock, you would. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It takes a lot of courage to write that. It also takes a lot of courage for you to come into court, plead guilty, knowing what the possible sanction is going to be. So it's going to be a fairly lengthy sanction, and I believe that the reasons and the statements that the court has made in scoring the guidelines justify the sanction that's going to be imposed, while taking into account your statements here in court today, and also taking into account the victim's desires, although she's not going to be happy either on this.
So let's break down the sentencing real quick. Smith was sentenced to 60 to 90 months for possession of a weapon by a felon, which is 5 to 7.5 years with credit for 325 days served. And then he was sentenced to 2 years flat for felony firearm, also with 325 days credit. But then for the biggest charge, Judge Holsing did not hold back, sentencing Smith to 281 to 900 months, which is around 23.5 years to 75 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. And thanks for joining me on this episode of On the Docket on 13+. We have new episodes releasing every week, taking you into the courtroom for the latest updates and deep dives on crime in and around West Michigan. In the meantime, we will bring you the latest on crime and court, both on air and online at 13onyourside.com. And when breaking news affects you and your community, we stream live on 13+ with what you need to know, right when you need to know. We'll see you next time with updates on what's on the docket.